Welcome to the first Sims History Mashup, where we make important historical figures live together and watch what happens. Our participants are Dorothy West, 1907 to 1998, whose parents rose from slavery to raise her in wealth and privilege in Boston. Journalist, novelist, short fiction author, and buddies with all the most famous names of the Harlem Renaissance, Dorothy West is always a treat to watch. Madam C.J. Walker, 1867 to 1919, the first American woman ever to become a self-made millionaire, is our next participant. Her company trained tens of thousands of African-American women to run their own business franchise. Third, Bessie Smith, 1894 to 1937, really needs very little introduction. She is, of course, the greatest of the early blues singers. Mashing up Heian and Harlem, we are bringing in Murasaki Shikbu, 978, 1014, or maybe 1025, lady-in-waiting at the court of the Emperor of Japan in the medieval capital city of Heian, and the author of the first and most influential of all Japanese novels, The Tale of Genji. Finally, last but by no means least, we have Sei Shonagon, 966 to 1025, another lady-in-waiting at the same court, a lover of nature, an unparalleled snob, and the author of some of the most fascinating court gossip ever written. The idea behind the historical mashup is to create the best possible simulation of a number of real historical people, put them all together in the same place, like in a reality show, and watch what happens. Since this is supposed to be an experiment, we need some rules. First, personality and skills are far more important than the appearance of your sim. It's great if your sim looks a lot like the real historical figure, but let's face it, many Sims players are not artists, and indeed, most historians are terrible artists, as you'll be able to tell as you look at my Sims. What is important is that your sim have a personality and a skill set similar to that of their real person that they are a copy of. In the case of this set of women, I've given them a skill set from mid-career, but I've put them all together as young adults, and I'm interested to see how they get along together. But remember, you want your simulation to be accurate in terms of personality and skills. Appearance and period clothes and period space, that's all secondary. That said, you should try to dress your sim in clothes that reflect their personality. Even if you have the base game and nothing else, even if you have no mods at all, no custom content to put in, you should still be able to do this. It's fine to put them in modern dress. That's what I've done here because it gives me a chance to play with the custom content that I can't play with in my Louis XIV scenario. But what's important here is that when you look at that sim, their personality should be reflected in their appearance, because when people dress, their personality is reflected in their clothes. The most important rule of the historical mashup, however, is that your sims must be as autonomous as possible. If you keep clicking around and telling your sims what to do, then we have no idea how they would have acted on their own. This is an experiment, and what we're experimenting with is the behavior of historical Sims. So, keep your grubby hands off the mouse clicker as much as possible. Now, if there's an action that they want to do, as illustrated by their whims, and that they can't do on their own, something like travel or get a job, then you are permitted in the rules of the experiment to help them achieve that whim, with some conditions. If, that is, you can do it with 4 clicks or fewer. 9 clicks if you're inviting a bunch of Sims to go someplace with you. So let's repeat that. If your Sim has a whim that they can't accomplish without your help, something like traveling, getting a job, and you can do it in 4 clicks or fewer, more if it involves inviting a bunch of people, then you can help them fulfill a whim. But you can't just do whatever you like with them. they have to be allowed to spend the majority of their time, well, really, almost all of their time, doing whatever they feel like doing. You could get them a job, but you can't control them while they're on the job. Whatever they do there is their own decision. So, that would be the rules for all of your restrictions. On the other hand, you could cheat them up to whatever skill level you think is appropriate. Like I said, those skill levels should reflect the actual accomplishments of the person, and in my case, I've gone, as I said, for mid-career with their accomplishments, but at least you can have some fun with the cheats. So keeping your grubby fingers away from clicking on the Sims as much as possible, this is your opportunity to observe them in action. And I've actually found this to be pretty restful. It's quite nice, actually, to enjoy my Sims without trying to get them to do lots of things. And I'm getting some pretty interesting data from the way they interact. For instance, as you see Bessie here playing chess, she actually turns out, despite being a gloomy Sim, to be able to stand up for herself. And she has some wonderful interactions where she recognizes that the other person is being a jerk, although she doesn't handle that in the healthiest possible way. She goes over across the park and kicks a can over. But I've had some interesting revelations on the personal level. Dorothy and Bessie have started flirting, which kind of surprised me. And Murasaki and Shikbu, Murasaki and Sei are getting along a lot better than I thought they would. And, you know, Madam C.J. Walker is just a lovely, calming presence in the house. She's pleasant in every scene that she's in, as actually is Dorothy. Now, today's video was really just about letting the girls get to know each other and providing the rules of the experiment. The next couple of videos of the Harlem Renaissance and Heian mashup will have them doing some more interesting things, I hope, because I'm going to have their skill levels built up appropriately, and we'll see how they interact when they've got all the tools around them to allow them to do that. They don't have any musical instruments, for instance, and how can Bessie act like herself without them? If you're wondering when the peasant materials are going to come back, or when Louis XIV are going to come back, I am currently editing a peasant video that has taken me considerably longer than I thought it would. I'm experimenting with crop failure, and that video has generated an awful lot of video feed, most of which needs to be cut down, because you don't want to really watch them farm for 3 hours. And so that's a longer process than putting this together was. It also, frankly, is kind of depressing to watch peasants go through a hunger time, so I wanted to do something a little bit more fun for a little bit. And I am waiting to do much more with Louis XIV until my friend Angie's wrist fully recovers. Angie is a portrait artist, and she is going to do a sim portrait of Louis XIV for me when she's a little bit more recovered. And so before I grow him up from the teen into from the child into the teen, I'm going to wait for that. So hope to see you at another time with the next Sims history video. We'll be doing a few more episodes of this mashup, and then we will be getting together for some more peasant materials. Goodbye!